that the game is in your head. That's a dunk for Ben Simmons right there.
Tatum fires away. Pumps it in. 51 for Jason Tatum.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to episode 2 of the Council podcast, inspired by Sixers legend Ricky Council IV. If you're new to the channel, my name's Josh Taggart, alongside my co-host Ryan Murphy, and we're here to bring you some in-depth analysis of everything NBA related. As Sixers fans, the offseason is kind of our NBA finals, so the draft and free agency is really our favorite time of the year.
Yep.
Today, our plan is to just run through the first round of the NBA draft that occurred 2 nights ago. We're going to go pick by pick, stamping a grade on each selection. The highest grade is going to be an A, the lowest being an F, obviously, and everything in between is going to include B+, B, B-, C+, C, C-, and D. And then after handing out a grade, we're going to give our thoughts on the talent, the fit, and the future outlook of each squad. So I'm super excited to get into things here. If you're enjoying this type of content, please hit that like button for us and subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate it, and then it'll help us create more content you guys want to see going forward. So without further ado, Murph, you want to kick things off here for us?
Yeah. Listen, I'm excited for this. Should be fun. Got a lot of interesting picks from this round. Some chalk, but still good things to talk about.
I want to preface before we start with, I have a lot of high grades, especially in the beginning. I mean, I feel like that's just what you have to do. This was an unbelievable draft class, so you really can't put out too many low grades here in the beginning. But yeah, let's get things started.
Yeah, it's very similar with me. I feel like sometimes I might be a little too generous on things, but I liked a ton of these prospects, so it was tough to really hate on the picks.
Yeah.
I guess we'll start off. Number 1, AJ Dembonsa got picked by the Washington Wizards. Starting off, I guess, with the talent side of things, we've talked about it before. Dembonsa, just a insanely talented prospect, ideal size for a wing, really versatile, just an offensive hub. Go ahead. I was just gonna say, like, fit-wise with Washington, he slots into their starting lineup perfectly.
Yeah, in terms of grade, I think we were both, and anyone you would ask is going to give this an A. So yeah, easy A for me. He was I know you had Boozer at 1 on your board, but he was my number 1 ranked player. Because I just think, he averaged almost 26 a game as a 6'9" pure freshman, incredibly dynamic scorer from all over the floor, good decision maker, elite athlete, defensive upside. Wizards fans should be super happy that the front office didn't overthink this, in my opinion.
Definitely.
But yeah, this was my number 1 guy.
Yeah, that's gonna be a fun squad to watch. Like, that dynamic offense, and all the guys in that roster can score. They have some defensive chops. I think AJ fits in perfectly. I don't know who they'll start at the 2. Maybe Trey Johnson.
I was going to add, in the long term, I think Trey and AJ as your wings it's going to bring some unbelievable scoring to Washington. Trey being able to play off of Dembonsa's gravity is going to be crazy, because I believe in Trey becoming one of the best high-volume, 3-point shooters in the league.
Yeah.
He was what, I forget what he shot from 3 in college, but somewhere in the low 40% on high volume. That was his pitch, that he was such an elite shooter. Didn't get much coverage as a rookie, but he played for the Wizards, so.
Right. And I think Alex Sarr took a big step forward last year, too, in my opinion. He looked really good. He looked like the part of a guy that's developing to be like a franchise type center. Maybe not one of the guys, but a championship level guy, in my opinion.
And then we haven't even mentioned the rest of that young core in Washington with Keyshawn George, Bub Carrington, Koulibaly. Even you could throw Will Riley in there.
Yeah.
And then playing alongside the veterans of Trey and AD, I think this front office is building something really special. And the Wizards are going to be really entertaining, not only next season, but they're also going to be really competitive next season.
Yep.
And as these young guys continue to take strides over the years, like this core can, like I said, with AJ and Trey as your lead wings, I think they can definitely take the leap into contention in the near future as these guys hit their prime.
Absolutely. Yep. All right, moving on to number 2 here. Darren Peterson to the Jazz. I think that was something that a lot of people predicted. I'm going to give this one an A. I think you'll probably give it an A too.
Yep, I've got an A for this as well. Yeah, I mean, another home run pick. You can't really go wrong between him or Boozer here, in my opinion. So, yeah, another A for me.
Yeah, I think he'll fit in perfectly with Will Hardy's system. They like to kind of run and gun and shoot, and he's that two-way demon, I think. I think he's probably the best two-way player in the draft, just with his talent offensively. He's a monster defensively. I think that's probably the more underrated part of his game is what he can do defensively. He has good size for an NBA guard. He'll fit in nicely next to Keontae George.
Keontae.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to add on to that. I love his fit next to Keontae.
Yep.
Right away and long term, especially on the defensive end where Keontae George kind of struggles because he's a smaller guard. No matter how good you are defensively, if you're that small, like you're obviously always going to get picked on to an extent.
Right.
And Peterson's just going to be able to come in, be the guy that guards the opposing team's best guard, so you can kind of try to hide Keyshawn George, or not Keyshawn, Keontae. And then offensively, obviously, seamless fit. Peterson's a seamless fit in any scheme in the NBA. Incredibly dynamic scorer, on ball, off ball, 3-point range, mid range, at the rim, which I mean could use a little bit of improvement. But he's that guy, and I think every offense in the league could use him.
Yep. Yeah, I like the outlook of the Jazz too. When out with like Jaren Jackson and Markkanen, like that's a dynamic scoring tandem there in the front court. And then they have Walker Kessler. I think he's on a is it him or Nurkic that's a free agent?
Nurkic is a free agent. I think Kessler's a restricted free agent.
Right.
So they'll probably retain him, but
and they have Bailey still too, who was good last year.
Right. So if you look at what is it, Keontae, DP, Ace Bailey, Lowry, Jaren Jackson, Walker Kessler as your core 6. I mean, that's awesome.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. Them and similar to the Wizards, like I see both of these teams, this being their final year where they're like tanking at the bottom of the league and they're finally taking those steps to be competitive.
Yeah. I could see them not being as good as like the Spurs, but making like a leap from being like a bad team to like, oh wow, they're actually pretty good type of team. Them and the Wizards, in my opinion.
Yep. One other thing to add to Debanza and this Peterson pick as well. The Wizards and Jazz haven't had a franchise player in like forever. Yeah. I mean, the Jazz had Donovan Mitchell. The Wizards' last franchise guy was John Wall.
John Wall, yeah. I guess Bradley Beal, but he wasn't really any.
Yeah. I think just getting a guy that you expect to be the number one for the next decade it's just huge.
Yeah. All right, moving on to Cameron Boozer to the Grizzlies at 3. This is another A for me. I mean, getting an arguably the best player in the draft at 3, it was probably going to be an A regardless of who fell to the Grizzlies.
Exactly.
Just a super computer of a player, so smart.
Yeah, I know you're super into the analytics and stuff, so you can talk about Boozer being an analytical guy here.
Ridiculous. He was like 100th percentile on like literally everything he did.
Yeah.
Rebounding, the motors there, the passing is ridiculous. He can skip the ball. When he's in the post, he sees guys on the outside. He can hit cutters. And then he has like the footwork and the patience inside with the strength and just a insanely good player. He'll be solid for them, and fit wise, slots right into their starting lineup next to Zach Edey. With now Kareem Lopez off the bench. I really like what the Grizzlies are doing in the front court. They just got Isaiah Stewart. So that's going to be a tough, physical front court that's kind of going to ground and pound the teams they play. I really like the Boozer pick.
Obviously, to add on, Boozer, I mean, he fits with anyone. He's, like you said, super computer player, type of guy that's just going to provide winning plays all over the basketball court, always making the right decision. And like you said, his fit next to Zach Edey, that's something that I absolutely love because Edey's rim protection will be able to cover up a little bit of that maybe slowness from Boozer early in his
Yeah.
career, where some quicker 4s and 3s might be able to blow by him and get to the rim. You've got
Right.
Edie back there to back you up. And then
Yep.
offensively, Boozer as a passer, incredible. Edie as a lob threat, also incredible. So,
Yep.
yeah, I think Boozer is exactly what the Grizzlies were looking for, exactly what they needed. And all three of these first three teams get their guy long term. So, 3 A's.
Yeah, you really can't pick anything wrong with that pick. So
No.
I think we can both agree with that. Now Caleb Wilson to Chicago at 4 from North Carolina. I gave this an A too, honestly. I think
So did I.
it's a perfect fit for Chicago. Wilson, just a athletic monster, really good on ball defensively, just with his length and with his quickness. Offensively, still developing a little bit of the outside game. Dunks a ton, so that'll work perfectly with Josh Giddey. He can catch lobs from Giddey.
Yeah.
Just the overall versatility, I think, it was a no-brainer for Chicago to pick him here. So that's
For
why
sure.
I gave it an A.
Yeah, I gave it an A as well, and I mean we're being completely chalk so far, but
Yeah,
I mean when we were watching the draft, everything was completely chalk too, so
Right.
it kind of makes sense. And all 4 of these first guys are franchise cornerstones, and I think the team selected them in relatively the correct order as well.
yeah,
To go into the fit a little bit with the Bulls, when you look at their core now, you've got 6'7" Josh Giddey, 6'8" Dalen Swain, who we're going to talk about later,
Mhm.
6'8" Matas Buzelis, 6'10" Caleb Wilson, and 6'11" Nick Claxton, who they just added as a third team in that Julius Randle trade. I mean, just a monstrous potential starting lineup.
yeah.
I love what they're cooking in Chicago. This is the slappiest lineup you can get. So, yeah, I mean, I love the pick, and people knew Caleb Wilson was a Bull
Right.
ever since the draft lottery happened. So,
Right. And they have Asenge off the bench too, who's like a 6'9", 6'10".
yeah, if he can ever
Flat.
figure things out.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have all the upside in the world and all the talent in the world. It's going to be really interesting. They're going to be a fun team to watch too.
Definitely.
I'm wondering, they probably have some cap space to do some stuff in free agency.
Yeah.
But we'll see with that. So yeah, there's Caleb Wilson, now number 5.
Ready to move on to 5. Yep.
Yeah.
Clippers, Keaton Wagler. You can start us off here.
Okay. I gave this a B+ personally. You might be surprised that I didn't give it an A. Given
I'm very
how high
surprised
it was
because I
on-
gave him a B+, thinking that you were going to give him an A.
Well, honestly, I just think because there was like a tier fall off from Wilson to Wagler, in my opinion.
That's
It's
fair.
like-
So kind of by default, like
Yeah.
the Clippers got
Yeah, like
screwed over
whoever-
a little bit. Yeah.
Right. I think we talked about that before. Like, that's why we thought they might trade back. Like,
Yeah.
whoever they would have taken here, I probably would have given a B+ just because I think all those prospects were kind of in the same tier.
It's a tough decision. Yeah.
But yeah, I think Wagler's going to fit in perfectly there next to Darius Garland. Just a really smart, fundamentally sound player, good passer, makes smart decisions, can put the ball in the basket from anywhere on the court, really good in the pick and roll. I think it's a good pick. It's a good pick. I think good for the future. So yeah, I really didn't have any complaints with it. I just think Wagler was kind of on the tier down from those other guys.
Yeah, that's fair.
B+.
I don't have much complaints, but I think I might have slightly more than you because you were higher on Wagler than I was. I personally had him at 9 on my board. I would have had, in terms of the Clippers pick, I would have had him at 3 behind Acuff and Mikael Brown.
Mhm.
But with that being said, I'm still absolutely a fan of his game and wouldn't argue with anyone that had him at 5 in this class.
Yeah.
With the talent, I'll say there's definitely a little bit of athletic limitations that could limit his offensive ceiling. And I think he can get a little bit reliant on the 3-ball in the pick and roll game. But with that being said, to play devil's advocate, he had an unbelievable freshman season. He was a true offensive engine, leading one of the best offenses in all of college basketball at Illinois. Good passer, awesome shooter. I think he's a plus rebounder for his position as well, which is like a nice little benefit tacked on top. You talked about the fit next to Garland. I'll say I don't have much of an opinion on it, and it's interesting. I don't necessarily love it or hate it, but I think that's totally fine because this isn't a team that's like anywhere close to contention. They have plenty of time to figure out like their long-term direction. And yeah, you might as well, if you think if they thought Wagler was the top prospect, just grab him. So
yeah, that's what I was kind of gonna say. Like the Clippers don't have a distinct direction right now. Like they're kind of in the middle. Like with Kawhi, there's rumors they might trade him. Like I think if they go into like a full-blown like rebuild mode and build around like Keaton Wagler and get like another first-round pick. I know the Sixers have their pick in 2028, which is nice. Hopefully they do go into a rebuild, but yeah, I think it was a good pick. Like,
yeah,
I was a big fan of Wagler. I think he has upside, and I think that athletic limitation is what kind of brought it down from like an A to like a B plus. Like if
that's true,
Keaton Wagler was an elite athlete, he would probably up there with.
He would probably go number 4,
right? Or Caleb Wilson, yeah. So
the last
you gave that a B plus, right?
Yeah, B plus from both of us. The last thing I just wanted to touch on is in defense of Wagler, going from a 3-star high school recruit to the number 5 pick in the NBA draft within 1 year is one of the craziest draft rises I've seen in my 5 years maybe looking into the draft. So
yeah,
I mean, definitely a hard worker that the sky's the limit. So
yeah. All right, now on to Michael Brown Jr. from Louisville, got drafted to the Brooklyn Nets at 6. I personally gave this a B grade, which it's not a bad thing by any means. I think this is a very good pick. I had Michael Brown as the 7th best player on my board, so I had Acuff above him. I probably would have taken Acuff at 6 if I was the Nets, but really not mad at it at all. I think the talent's absolutely there. He's an explosive, athletic point guard, distributes the ball well, unlimited range. I think he fits in nicely there. They don't really have a point guard of the future. They tried drafting a bunch of guards last year, and really none of them panned out. I mean, I guess Igor Djomin, but he's kind of more of a 2 in my opinion, like an off-ball type guy. So yeah, I like the fit. I think he'll be good there. I just gave it a B because similar to Wagler, like that tier drop off. And I did have Acuff above Michael, so that's kind of my reasoning there.
Yeah, that's fair. I did give him another A.
Okay.
I think when you combine Michael Brown's athleticism, limitless range, playmaking and passing upside, I mean, when you combine those things together and look at what the ceiling could be, you can end up with one of the best player in the class. You know what I mean? I mean, who knows? Yeah. Obviously, there's the decision-making concerns and the shot chucking that he needs to work on a little bit. But everything I've seen about this kid in his interviews and things like that, I just think he knows what his deficiencies were, and he's ready and willing to work on them. And yeah, I mean, I think the Nets got their cornerstone guy. In terms of fit, there's really nothing to talk about, right? The Nets don't have any.
He perfectly in the guard spot. Yeah,
really the important guy there. Defensively, definitely has a lot to work on. But if the offensive ceiling outcome hits where he's an engine, I mean, who cares about the defense? So
right, yeah. And just as long as he stays healthy, I know he had some back injuries at Louisville, but
yeah. And I know you talked about having Acuff above him. I do too, but I had them 5 and 6 on my board, so it's kind of just like
that makes sense.
So I just gave him an A anyways.
Yeah. All right, sounds good on Michael Brown.
7.
Yep, Darius
Acuff to the Sacramento Kings. Long-awaited pick. This has been honestly, all of the top 7 or 8 were kind of the number one guy that teams expected to get throughout the entire draft cycle. Yeah. One of the chalkier drafts I've ever seen, but I think it's because all of these guys are so good and teams honed in on their guy. But with Acuff, you know how I feel about him. I gave him this one an A. From an entertainment perspective, the Kings are just missing the ability to fill seats in their arena and get fans excited about something. From the get-go, that's exactly what Acuff's going to do. Long-term, they don't really have any pieces to put around him right now, unless you like Keegan Murray or, I don't know, Nick Clifford.
Yeah.
Maxime Reynaud. So this is
Yeah.
kind of their first guy that's really expected to stick in their
Right.
rebuild. And I absolutely love it. I think I mean he averaged almost 25 a game on 44%
from three, yeah.
unbelievable shooter, unbelievable shot creator, great passer. Yeah, I think small guards are getting overhated on a bit, and
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet on him.
Yeah, no, I agree. I gave it an A. Pretty much everything you said, just electric scorer. We'll keep them in every game with his offense. I do like the fit. Obviously, I mean, there's nothing like you said. Maxime Reynaud was a good piece last year. I think he'll probably start at center for them. I mean, I guess we'll see what Sabonis does, but I like Reynaud a lot. I think that pick and roll game would be nice. With Reynaud as kind of like the roll lob threat type guy with Acuff handling the ball. Great passer, just unbelievable at getting his teammates involved. Overall offensive demon. Really excited.
Yeah, he's just got that killer instinct too.
Yeah.
So
Yep. So I'm cool with
All
an
right.
A there. I like that pick a lot.
let's move on to 8. Damn,
Yep.
we only have one difference so far, and it was Mikael Brown.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be more.
No, definitely. I mean, this beginning is just so chalky. It's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah, and we were all so high on all these prospects. So
Right. Yeah.
Kingston Flemings to the Hawks at 8. I personally gave it a B plus.
Okay.
That was my grade.
I have an A.
Okay.
Yeah. I love this kid.
Yeah. I'll let you talk about him.
Okay. I mean, I want to start off with the character aspect of him. When have you ever seen a guy release to NBA general managers
Yeah.
a statement about why he should be drafted and how hungry he is to start working hard and providing for a team, for a franchise?
Yeah.
You've never seen that before, and I think this kid just wants it more. And I think when you combine the talent and the hunger to be great, his ceiling is a little bit undersold because I know people have been sort of looking at him as like a Cason Wallace type of guy where he's going to come in, play defense, make winning plays, but might not necessarily be that high upside number one option type of guy. But I don't fully agree there, and I think I know Jalen Johnson is there with the Hawks. I don't view him as a number one option by any means, and I think if Kingston hits, he's got that potential to be their lead guard that runs the show over there in Atlanta. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I love this.
Yeah, no, I really have no complaints about it. I wasn't as high on Flemings. I think he was 9th on my board, I'm pretty sure. As some other people were. I love the kid. I think he's a great player. This was just an extremely talented guard class at the top. I think he does fit in really nicely with the Hawks. I think they needed like a lead guard ball handler that can kind of create his own shot, get to the rim, take some pressure off Jalen Johnson, because I feel like Jalen Johnson was running like a point forward role a lot of
Yep,
and
100%.
yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have a guard like him. They didn't have
No.
a point guard, true point guard. CJ is more of a 2. Null is more of a 2. Dyson Daniels is kind of a defensive guy that
Yeah.
still is figuring out his role on offense. So, yeah, I mean, perfect pick for the Hawks in my opinion. I wouldn't have taken anyone else here.
Yeah, I think it's a very solid pick. I think he'll help them win games starting next year, which is nice.
Yep.
And he has room to grow because he's young.
Yep.
All right, Merez Johnson Jr. to Dallas, which was honestly the first.
This is where the draft
surprise
started.
Yeah, we were both
Yep.
kind of surprised when they took him.
Yeah. I think when we were watching, we predicted all of 1 through 8 who they were
Yeah.
going to take, right? Yeah, and then
Yeah.
9 came around. I think I said it was going to be Burries, and I don't know who you said, but and then we saw Merez, and obviously with Dusty May coming in
That
a
changed.
couple days ago, that definitely changed my thought process. I was kind of like, might go Mara, might go Merez, might go Yaxel, even though Burries was kind of the guy I had linked to them all along.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was kind of teetering along A and B plus, but I ended up going with an A. You know, Merez was one of my guys. I wanted the Sixers to trade up and snag him, even though that wasn't realistic. But yeah, go ahead and talk about his talent a little bit.
Yeah, so I gave this a B plus personally.
Okay, no, I don't disagree. I was
Yeah.
almost there.
It was a very thin line between the A and B plus for me on
Yeah.
both of these guys, but Yeah, just a monster, and as a big, as like a versatile forward. I think he fits perfectly in Dallas with Flag. That's going to be a ridiculous front court, in my opinion, with like the switchability and the
Yup.
versatility of all those guys. I think Merez can
Lively.
guard. Yeah, yep, Lively. I think Merez can guard honestly like 2 through 5, probably more 3 through 5. Like if you want to get him on a switch, I don't know if I would feel comfortable with him guarding a 1 or 2, but I think he
I
could
think he
definitely hold
could.
his own. Yeah, his
Yeah.
his just freak like functional athleticism is insane. Like just the way he
He's
moves.
yeah.
Yeah, he covers
He-
ground like crazy, and then he goes up and gets boards. He's just an outstanding player.
Yep. Yeah. The athleticism it's not quite like insanely jumping off the charts, but then when you add in his measurables being 6'10" with a 7'5" wingspan,
Yeah.
I think it all comes together. Like you said, functional athleticism, where
Yep.
his athleticism is what matters most in basketball.
Right.
And yeah, I think the defense we covered going to be unbelievable next to Flag and Lively.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about just putting the Great Wall of China in front of the basketball hoop.
Yeah.
I don't see anyone scoring on them. And then offensively, there's a little bit of overlap between him and Lively as play finishers, but I think there's a lot of untapped upside in Merez Johnson's growth on offense as a shooter. And I think bringing in Dusty May, I'm sure there was communication between the front office and Dusty May, obviously. Like, hey, what do you see in this kid? Do you see him growing offensively in the future? And I'm sure Dusty May was like, yeah, take him. He can be unbelievable. 80% from the free throw line in college. The form looks solid. So yeah, I fully believe in him being a stretch big. I think they'll probably look to move off of Gafford or just keep him as a third big.
Yeah.
Perez can play the 4, play the 5 when Lively goes off the court or when he's injured. So beautiful pick. The only reason I was close to going B+ is because I think Burries would have been awesome. But
Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say on Merez. I think we pretty much covered that nicely. So now we'll go to number 10. The Milwaukee Bucks picked Braden Burries from Arizona. I don't know if this will surprise you or not. I'm not sure. I gave this a B-.
okay.
You might think that's a little low. I think some of it is dependent on the Giannis trade and what they got back for Giannis. I think their guard room is like really loaded now, which isn't a bad thing at all. Like, isn't a bad thing at all. I would have probably preferred if they took Mara here and then also went Ament later to kind of bolster that front court. But I have no complaints with Burries as a player.
Yeah.
Just tough, physical, really nice in transition, pushes the ball, gets rebounds, immediately looks to go. I think it's going to be a fun Milwaukee team to watch, even in a post-Giannis era. I think he fits in there nicely. I think he'll probably start off the bench, and then maybe work his way into a starting role. If they keep Hero, maybe he'll start. Or if they trade Hero, he'll start.
All right, so
yeah.
Here's what I have to say about your guard glut thing and how you said you think maybe Mara would have been the better pick here. So I gave Burries an A. He was probably my favorite player in this entire draft cycle, so there's no surprise there. But I gave this an A because when you look at those guards, I think Hero probably isn't a Buck long term. Even if he is, he's not going to line up with the age of the rest of the young guys that they start moving towards.
Yeah.
I think Yaku Chonis is still a work in progress. There's nothing fully guaranteed there, and Burries is a much more guaranteed prospect than Yaku Chonis was. Just his impact on winning. And then you have Ryan Rollins, who I really like. But I feel like Braden Burries stands out far and above the rest of that guard room. Mm-hmm. So I still think they secured their number one guy. And when you look down the board here, personally, I don't see any of the rest of the guys there having a quote unquote like clearly higher ceiling than Burries. So I think you took the highest floor pick. I think you also could have possibly taken the highest ceiling pick. But yeah, I love it.
Yeah. No, listen, I mean, I don't disagree in any like facet there. I just think that maybe the fit wasn't as good, or they may have been able. I might have wanted them to go a little bigger after the Giannis loss, but this was also I didn't really look at the Ament pick.
Yeah.
While I was grading the Burries
In
pick,
conjunction with each other. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
All right, moving on to pick 11. Golden State took Yaxel Lendeberg. I gave this a C+.
Okay.
That was my grade. Yaxel, obviously one of the older players in the draft, really supremely talented, good measurables, big, long wingspan, kind of did everything for Michigan, was able to stretch the floor, really, really good defender. Like, I think he's another one of those guys that can guard like 2 through 5 or even like 1 through 5 on a switch or something like that. I would feel comfortable with him. I think we might agree on this. Golden State's not really in a contention window, in my opinion. Obviously they still have Steph and Draymond, but I think they should have looked more towards the 5 years down the line and getting a guy that has the upside higher than Yaxel. Like, Yaxel's 24. They could have gotten a guy that's 19 or 20 that can be what Yaxel in 2 years. Like, I don't know. That was my opinion on this pick.
I didn't have a C+. I had a B-, so I'm right there with you on everything you said. I think the reason I think I'm slightly above you here is because even though Yaxel's 24, he was a late bloomer. So when you take that into account, I think you could still see a path where he has higher upside than where he's at right now. And yes, he's 24, so if you're taking him, you're looking to win right away next year and have him be a key contributor. And obviously that's what the Warriors are looking at. They brought back Steve Kerr, Curry still there, Jimmy Butler, a bunch of old heads. And yeah, I fully agree that they're kind of pushing this fake contention window thing. And I would have preferred for them to go a little bit younger with this pick. But Yaxel's going to provide everything they need in year one. So
yeah,
it really just depends how you look at it. If you're the type of fan who would like them to just be as competitive as possible next season, then you're in love with this pick. If you're the type of fan that was sort of like, we need to move on, you're not buying that BS that this team's going to go deep in the playoffs, then yeah, you would probably be a little bit more like, damn, we should have taken a swing on Ament or Mara or Steinbach or someone like that. So
yeah. Yep. All right, now to number 12. The Thunder picked Ade Mara, which may have come as a surprise a little bit to people. I think I wasn't really expecting them to pick Mara. I was expecting to pick Ament, I think. Yeah. But I gave this a B+ personally.
So did I.
Okay. Cool. I mean, we've been agreeing on these past couple, so I mean, it's not a bad thing. Just Mara, the size and the passing and the feel on offense, that combination like rarely comes to the NBA at all.
Right.
I think that's just the Thunder are known for like capitalizing on when guys fall or when guys are undervalued. They take them and they have the talent and they just put them into their system and they get well coached by Mark Daigneault. And I think Mara will thrive off the bench. It'll be interesting to see how he kind of fares in their like switchable system on defense. The Thunder usually covet guys that have kind of versatility defensively, but when you're Mara's size, they need a Wemby stopper eventually.
Yeah.
And he's a good enough player all around to where you're not just drafting him to be a Wemby stopper, you're drafting him to be a lob threat and a good passer. So I really like this pick, and I think the fit's fine.
Yep. So I also B+, obviously. To touch on to that part you said at the end there with him not just like, obviously if he can become the Wemby stopper, that would be awesome. I personally see a guy like Merez Johnson being more of a Wemby stopper because I think when you're guarding Wemby, you want to be the low man and sort of beat him at his base, because that's what causes Wemby to struggle to create space and get open when you're physical with him at the low point. With that being said, Mara's wingspan and height is going to be able to contest Wemby's shots better than anyone else in the league. So that in that regard, I do see him being sort of like a Wemby stopper. But yeah, offensively, I love the fit. I think you can sort of ease him in behind Chet and Hartenstein.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be a big contributor in year one if he's not quite ready. If he is ready, great. You've got a 7'3" demon.
Yeah.
But yeah, they also have Sorber there, so interesting to see what's going to happen in the front court next year for OKC.
Yeah. Yep. It was an interesting pick, but I'm excited to see how he fits in there.
Yeah.
All right, now 13, the Bucks selected Nate Ament from Tennessee. I personally gave this a B. I think it was a very solid pick. I was higher on Ament than a lot of people were in the draft process, and I think this is like the perfect landing spot for him. After the Giannis trade, I think they're probably going to try and replicate somewhat what they did with Giannis. Obviously, I'm not saying Ament's going to be Giannis whatsoever, but kind of that tall forward that has the upside, that has the handle, can get to the rim, gets fouled a lot, makes his free throws, has some defensive versatility a little bit, just kind of a unicorn type of player that I think is the upside shot that the Bucks needed to take after kind of getting rid of Giannis. So yeah, I like the pick. I think it was solid.
Yeah, I like it too. I went B+ here.
Okay.
But yeah, I agree with most of the stuff you said. I will say, I think the fact that they brought in just a bunch of solid players is going to be huge for his development.
Yeah.
Because he still has runway. He has great opportunity to get minutes still, but also you're not throwing him into the fire and being like, go be Jason Tatum. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's got a lot of margin for error being alongside some good players to start off his career, where he can sort of iron things out and become the player that hopefully he can become. So, yeah, I like the fit. I think this is the perfect range to be taking him. The only reason I didn't go A is because I'm not the biggest Nate Ament guy.
Yeah.
I think he ends up becoming more of a supporting piece than like a star. So,
yeah. No, I agree with that. I think we've talked about it before. I don't think he really warrants like the boom or bust label that he's getting. Like he is a stretch. Like if nothing else, I think he'll be able to get a floor for being like a stretch big. And he's a willing rebounder. Like I saw him on tape and at games. Like he goes up and tries to get the boards. Like he'll provide something there. Defensively, if he can get a little quicker, I think. Or like muscle up on guys, I think he'll be able to stick defensively. He'll be fine. But I think, like I said, this was the upside swing that the Bucks kind of had to take in their position. So I'm glad they did so. I mean,
last thing, I mean, I don't know much about his character, but seeing him like kind of troll when they were paneling across all the guys' faces in the draft was funny. He was hitting that like one eyebrow.
No, he's a really like
seems like a fun kid. So
really like mature and like down to earth kid. Like from everything I saw over the course of the year at Tennessee and like their videos, their press conferences and stuff, like he was very focused, very mature. Came to Tennessee for Rick Barnes and what he was preaching. And I think in his post draft interview, he was like, "Yeah, I wanted to get drafted, but like this isn't what the main goal was. Like the end goal was to like be one of the greatest. Like he wants to keep getting better and wants to help the franchise win." So I think he's
and that's always good to see. So
really good head on his shoulders. I like the Ament pick.
Yeah. Kick it over to the Charlotte Hornets at number 14, selecting Hannes Steinbach, Washington big man. Would you give this one?
I gave this a B+. I think, I guess I'll just go into the talent. I think he's a really solid big, insanely good rebounder, good hands, good touch around the rim for a big, a little bit limited from the outside, although I think he can develop some stretchability there. Good in transition, like he can push the ball in transition if need to. He can run with guards if need to. I think that'll be nice with the Hornets' kind of fast-paced offense. Now with LaMelo gone, I don't know how they'll be on offense. I'm assuming it's pretty similar. But yeah, I thought it was a solid pick. They needed a big. They got a big. He was around. I think he was my 16th player on my board, so solid value, not a reach. So I liked it.
Yep. I actually gave it an A.
Okay.
I wasn't even like crazy high on Steinbach or anything, and I agree with a lot of what you said. But the reason I ultimately went with A here is because the Hornets needed a big man.
Yeah.
Whether it was at 14 or at 18, they needed to take a big man at some point. All they had was Kalkbrenner and I'm blanking. Yes. So I went with an A for Steinbach because he was the clear best big man on the board here, and if they waited, they wouldn't have gotten a prospect as high caliber at the big spot. So I like the pick, and like you said, his ability to push the ball in transition and rebound, they definitely needed some help on the boards. We'll see how the defense turns out in the NBA. I think it's got a decent floor. He's not gonna get picked apart.
No.
And yeah, I like the feel on offense, the touch, the potential for being able to shoot from three. So
Yeah. I don't think it's not like a flashy pick, but
no,
I think
but it was the right one.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now 15, the Chicago Bulls picked Dalen Swain.
Yep.
I also gave this a B plus. I might be kind of underselling these guys. They might be deserving of A's because I was really high on Swain. I think this is a great fit in Chicago. I think they needed some wing creation, guys that could kind of put the ball in the basket from the wing. I think they had guys that weren't like natural scorers. I think Dalen Swain is a natural scorer. Like, I don't think Matas Buzelis is a natural scorer. I think he's like a good athlete and a good piece, and he can do kind of everything, but isn't like your go-to guy to get a bucket. Mm-hmm. I think Dalen Swain fits that role to a T on the Bulls. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's my thought.
I agree. I went with a B.
Okay. I
was a fan of Swain. I wanted him to fall to the Sixers, but I think at 15 was a little bit rich. Mm-hmm. I know some people had him, like Derek Parker had him up at 10 on his big board. So I wouldn't call it a reach by any means. But I do think the shooting concerns with Swain are a little bit exacerbated when you put him with the core of the Bulls, because now you've got Giddey, who's not necessarily a 3-point shooter.
Yep.
You've got Buzelis, who he can shoot it a little bit, but also more of a athletic slashing based player. Yep. You've got Caleb Wilson, also a slashing player, needs to develop his outside shot. You've got Nick Claxton, who's basically a 0 from 3.
Yeah.
So I do like the pick. I like Swain as a prospect, but I think the fit with all that shooting, as I just talked about, all that lack of shooting, can definitely stir up some problems for the Bulls. But I mean, yeah, I like it in general. I like it.
Yeah, I agree. I think with their like slap motto, if these guys if their shots can develop to be at least league average, then it's huge. But if they don't, then it can look really clunky and it could be really bad.
Yeah, I mean, especially in year one, I think it's going to look really clunky for the Bulls. They're gonna be fun. I don't think they're necessarily going to be overly competitive or contending for a decently high seed in the East. I think they could be a play-in team, but nothing more than that.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the Thunder, who selected Bennett Sturts at 16. There was a couple trades. We don't have to go too deeply into that, but the Thunder ended up with Bennett Sturts.
Yeah.
I gave this a C+. I like Sturts as a player. I think he's a really solid kind of floor general, shot creator, good IQ, kind of like not the most explosive of guys, won't leap off the page when you look at his measurables. I just think it's kind of it's an OKC team where you're going to have to fight for minutes at the guard position.
Right.
They do have so many proven guys. So I guess the fit isn't as ideal. I think that's why it brings me down a little bit, as it would have been for like a Toronto or a Memphis, like a team like that.
Yeah.
But I do think it's an OKC team that will use him to his strengths in their offense. And I think some of his defensive or functional athleticism limitations that he might have had will be masked by the crazy.
I agree with that.
Yep. So yeah.
So I'm a little bit higher than you here. This might be our biggest separation between grades. I gave it a B+.
Okay.
And I agree with what you just said at the end there, that positive part about his defensive limitations being able to be covered up by guys like Wallace, Caruso, etc.
Yeah.
But the reason I have a B plus here is because I think the Thunder are living by the motto that you can't have enough guards,
Mhm.
and they're going to be able to utilize different guards in different situations, and they're going to have a guy to go to whenever someone else is struggling that normally steps up. So
Yeah.
I think having that versatility is awesome. I also think Sturts being a 22-year-old prospect who has scaled up and down all throughout his career is something that flies under the radar here. Because if you're going to play for OKC, you're going to need to be able to scale up and down.
Yes.
There's going to be situations where he might be tasked to be the starting point guard if someone misses time. But there's also going to be situations where it's like, all right, Sturts, you're not playing tonight. We have
Right.
Jay, Caruso, Wallace, Jared McCain too.
Yeah.
This puts a little bit of a hitch in Jared McCain's minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that scalability is the biggest reason I like this pick for OKC, and I'm a big Sturts believer. I think he's going to be a great player. So
Yeah, absolutely. All right, moving on to number 17, Ibuka Okori ended up with the Pistons again. Some trades. We don't have to dive into that, but he ended up on the Pistons. I gave this an A personally. I think the Pistons badly needed creation outside of Cade Cunningham. They needed a guy that could get to the rim, that could pull up off the dribble and shoot, utilize the pick and roll to kind of create space and get off his jump shot. He's quick, he's athletic, quick burst. Just the first step is ridiculous.
yeah,
So yeah, I knew Detroit needed a shot creator in some form of fashion, and they got him. So I'm
Yeah.
happy with this fit here.
yeah. I gave it a B plus.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, I agree. I think I was very close to giving it an A. I love Okori as a prospect.
Mhm.
The only thing I don't love about, I like the fit as well. Don't get me wrong. The only thing I don't like about the fit, though, to explain why I have him a little bit lower than you, I think, is just I think him next to Cade, like them being on the floor together at the same time, could get a little bit awkward because Okori is definitely a ball dominant type of guy,
Mhm.
and so is Cade. So it'll be interesting to see how Okori can scale into an off-ball role.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's going to be moments where they need him on ball, and that's why I love the pick.
Right.
Because when Cade doesn't have it, you're going to need somebody.
Yep.
So yeah, I do like it in that aspect. I also think he'll be best served coming off the bench in his first year.
Yes.
But yeah, good pick.
I agree. Yep. All right, moving on to 18. Charlotte selected Christian Anderson. And this is interesting because once he got drafted on draft night, I didn't like the pick. I think when I was doing my grades, I think on Wednesday morning, so this was pre-LaMelo trade, I gave it a B, but now I adjusted my grade to a
Okay.
B plus. So I took the LaMelo thing into account because they lost a on-ball creator, and now I think they've gained an on-ball creator in Christian Anderson, and kind of an off-ball guy too. But I think now that LaMelo's gone, they need a guard that can shoot because they lost a guard that can shoot. So that's why I kind of scaled my grade up a little bit.
Yeah. So here's how I adjusted it based on the LaMelo trade.
Okay.
I have a C minus, and the reason I gave it this is because, yes, you're right. They did replace LaMelo with another on-ball guard. But the reason I gave it a C minus is because why the hell did they do that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have LaMelo Ball. Why are you trying to replace him with he's what, the smallest guard in the draft?
One of the
In the
smaller,
smallest guard in the first round or in this top 20 tier.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're replacing LaMelo with a guy that's way smaller. Obviously not the all-star level talent at the moment that LaMelo is. And yeah, at the time I didn't like it because it's like, okay, he's going to be a little bit buried in the rotation. They have Kobe White too.
Right.
And then you trade LaMelo and I'm still just like, why? Like you had now they don't have the number one option. They don't have their guy.
Yeah.
So I don't like this pick. It's nothing against Christian Anderson, which sucks. I'm kind of putting bad talk on his name just because of the situation here.
Right.
I think he's gonna be a good player for them. I think the 3-point shooting is unbelievable. The passing's great. The defensive limitations are definitely there. But just the general direction that the Hornets went here is what has me leaving sour and giving it a C-.
Definitely fair. Definitely fair. I'm fine. I'm fine with that. I think I may have taken more of an optimistic side of things where I didn't really look at like the whole LaMelo concept. I mean,
Right.
obviously, yeah, like I didn't think of it as, oh, they traded LaMelo for Christian Anderson. I just thought, oh,
Right.
they kind of supplemented.
And
what
the
they
thing
did,
that I don't understand with the direction they're going is that they don't have like a single defense first guy on this team.
No,
Like
not
when
at
you
all.
look at their potential starting line, top, let's say top 7 in their rotation.
Yeah,
You've got Kobe White, not necessarily known for his defense. You've got Con Knipple, not known for his defense. Bridges, Brandon Miller is an offense first player. Hane Steinbach is definitely not a defensive prospect. And then you got Christian Anderson now, who's a 6-foot guard. So
Yeah.
I think they were in such a good spot, and I wish they just built off of that.
Yeah, I
And
know,
Now they're
I know.
kind of, and then you add in Nas Reed there too, another
Yep.
shooter that's not a defender. So I think they're just gonna play at an insane pace. Which, hey, if you're a Hornets fan, it's gonna be really fun to watch.
yeah.
But I don't see them making a deep run this year, or in the near future until they figure out who their guy is.
Yeah. Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. All right, now on to the Toronto Raptors, who selected Alan Graves, which was probably one of the more surprising ones.
Yeah,
I mean, it was around the range where he's probably selected to go, but I gave this a C+ personally. I was fairly high on Graves. I liked him as a prospect. He was really analytically, he was analytically driven, succeeded in all the steal rate, block rate, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Offensive rebounded like crazy. I just didn't like the fit at all. I think it's added to was added into a group of Raptors that have like the size and the length and really not much self-creation, but they're kind of all over the place where they can rebound and defend. But I don't know. I would have preferred if they went like an on-ball guard, like a LeBaron Philon here. So that's kind of my thought process. It's nothing really against Graves. I just don't love the fit.
Right. So I agree with you there, but I think I agree with that to an even further extent, and I gave him a D.
Okay.
I think when you look at this rotation now, at in the 3-4-5 spot. I mean, I'm not even going to include the 5 spot because you're not going to be able to get away with playing Graves at the 5 in the NBA. But when you look at the 3-4 spot, you've got Scotty Barnes, Colin Murray-Boyles. I mean, RJ Barrett's not a 3, but he's in that size type of thing. You got Brandon Ingram. Am I forgetting anyone else that's in that core there?
I don't think so. I mean, they had.
I'm not sure, but
they'll probably let go of him.
Oh yeah, they had Mamu too, which I feel like is kind of redundant. Alan Graves is a bit similar to the way Mamu is, where they're kind of these bigger power forwards that can't really play center, but they're like solid in every aspect.
Yeah.
So I kind of just feel like there was, like you said, really good guards available, like Philon.
Yeah.
And they just decided to draft a 3rd string power forward, which kind of confused me. So,
Yep.
And I don't see a huge ceiling case for Graves either. I think he's more of a floor pick.
No, I agree. Yeah, that's pretty much, I think, all that really has to be said there. All right, moving on to San Antonio, taking Jaden Quaintance at 20. I gave this a B personally. I think it was a good pick. I think Quaintance, it's just, he's like a wild card. He's a mystery box. Like, you have no idea. I mean, there was a report that came out saying he might need another knee surgery. Like, you have absolutely no idea.
I think that's confirmed now, and I think teams knew that going into the draft, that he was going to need that meniscus surgery.
Yeah.
So he's redshirting his entire first year.
Probably.
I think that's what the report said. Like, I think that's confirmed that he's redshirting his first year. So I think the Spurs knew that, and I think all the other teams knew that. And the reason the Spurs were willing to take the gamble was because they don't necessarily need him right away. And if he does come back and he's the same player he was before the injury, then you have an absolute brick wall on defense. So I gave this a B-. I
Okay.
think the only reason I'm slightly below you is because I think the Spurs are fully in win now mode now,
Mhm.
and the fact that they're not getting anything out of this pick in year one is a little bit concerning. But the reason I'm not down in the C's or D or F is because I think the upside with him and Wemby is definitely unbelievable. And I do see the vision there, and also picking up the guy they got at 26, who we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. All right, moving on to Memphis, who selected Kareem Lopez. This was also a trade.
Yeah.
They moved all the way back, picked up a ton of seconds.
Yeah, I
gave
did
this-
like that aspect.
Yeah, yeah. I gave this a C minus personally. I wasn't really high on Kareem Lopez as a player going into it. I think he was like 25th or 26th on my big board, so kind of pick wise, this was a little bit of a reach, and I also just didn't love the fit. I think they should have gone like a Phylon or a Cam Carr to provide a scoring creation punch after they took
Yep.
Boozer. I don't know. I think he has some upside. He has solid feel, good size for a forward, moves well functionally, can pass, has some defensive versatility, but I just didn't love the fit, and I think there was better options on the board, so that's why it's B minus for me.
So I'm going bold here, and I'll explain why, but I gave this an F.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the only F that I gave the whole
Okay.
draft. And I wanted to give an F somewhere, just like as like my least favorite pick.
Yeah.
So that's why I threw that in there. And the reason that I'm doing that isn't entirely because of my doubt in Kareem Lopez as a player, but it's because if you're the Grizzlies, how are you not taking Phylon there?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, you just got your power forward for the next decade in Cam Boozer.
Yep.
Lopez is also a power forward. I mean, obviously you could do some lineup where one's the 3 and one's the 4, if Lopez ends up panning out. But I also have concerns about Lopez as a player, where I don't know exactly what he's good at right now. He's a bit of a project.
Yep.
The defense has to improve. The 3-point shot needs to improve. He's not much of a like elite creator playmaker prospect either. So I just think if they took Phylon here, they would have been so perfectly set up for the future. They could move on from Ja, start with that core of Phylon, Coward, Wells, Boozer, and Edey, and that would have been perfect. That would have been perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
but I do like that they picked up the second round picks at least.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement there on that one. Now moving on to 22. I'm going to try not to talk too much about this because we could obviously for like an hour straight, but the Sixers selected LeBaron Phylon. He was like my guy the whole draft cycle. I think he was 8th on my big board. And people can question the fit, but I think it's perfect for what the 76ers needed. I'll go into depth however much I need to, but they had nobody that could come off the bench and create or handle the ball or score the ball. So this will just provide all of that in one player. And I think he just has more upside than a lot of people are giving him credit for. I think just such a creative, talented, just shifty, good in the paint.
What Sixers fans aren't noting here, I feel like, is that this is pick 22.
Right.
You're not supposed to get a star, and we just got a guy who might be an offensive engine.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I
love
gave
it.
this an A. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I tried to avoid being biased, and I know the fit alongside Maxey and VJ of all three of them on the floor at the same time can be a little bit wonky, so I settled at B+.
Okay.
But I obviously love the A grade from you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in terms of talent, Phylon was an elite offensive engine in his second year at Alabama. 22-5 on elite efficiency, borderline 50-40-90 shooting.
Yeah.
I understand the strength and weight concerns, but like this kid's handling, self-creation, the herky-jerky movements that you see from him, sort of like the way Brunson and SGA get open and move on offense, the lateral quickness, et cetera, et cetera. It's all truly special, and everything you would want in a star and in a lead guard. I think he can get open against top level competition. Like if you're going to bring up the weight concerns, I'm going to bring up the fact that he dropped 35 points against Michigan in the tournament, where Michigan had 3 guys just get drafted in the lottery for their defense.
Right.
So I have no questions about the talent, and I think Philon is one hell of a pick. Absolute steal at 22. I don't know how he fell this far.
Yeah. I think after watching his film, the way I like to describe his offense is like you can never predict what he's going to do next.
You never know what he's going to do.
He always has a counter. Like he'll
Never
have
know.
a cross,
Yeah.
he'll have a spin, he'll have a step back. Like you can't predict what he's going to do. You can't jump ahead of it, and that's what I don't know.
He's only 20 years old too.
Yeah.
I understand he's skinny, but he's got a 6'3". He's 6'3" with a 6'6" wingspan. I think he's got the frame to fill out a little bit. The defense showed some upside his freshman year, so you could even end up with an all-around player here. And I just want to get into the situation and the fit with the Sixers real quick, because that's ultimately what held me back from giving it an A. And I understand things get a little bit questionable, but stay with me, anyone watching who thinks, why the hell did we take another small guard? So immediately, off the jump, Philon's going to run the bench unit. He's going to provide great scoring, ball handling, and just a great playmaking punch off the bench that the Sixers desperately needed. After we traded McCain especially, we had literally no ball handling, no playmaking. And Maxey and VJ aren't point guards to begin with. They aren't even really primary ball handlers. Those are 2 guards. And that leads me into my next point. Being able to put Maxey and VJ in more off-ball situations is going to be awesome for them. And Philon just really provides a different style of guard. He's much more of a real point guard than they are. And when you look at the long term, I don't think Philon's going to be a guy you can just keep on the bench as the 6th man. I think he's going to be a superstar potentially. So when you look at the fit with Maxey and VJ long term, obviously the defense could be rough because of their lack of size. But as I talked about, Philon's got potential to become, I think, a neutral defender. But the offensive fit, awesome, 100% there. And I think we're so far away from contending that I'm not really worried about it right now.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I think we should cut it off there, or else we'll just ramble on for like 30 minutes.
Yeah, I just rambled for like so long about that, but I needed to. I needed to get my thoughts out because I love this kid, and I'm so excited to watch him play next year.
Yep. All right, Zuby to the Hawks at 23. I gave this a C+. I think they went into this draft knowing they needed a big. I just don't think this is as big of a big as they needed, if that makes any sense. Like I think Zuby is kind of like an Onyeka Okongwu, where he's like an undersized 5 or like a big jumbo 4 that is like, I mean, he's not really similar play style wise. Obviously, Okongwu's more of a stretch guy, but like size wise, I think he'll be fine. I think he'll make a good impact. And obviously they did get Visar in the second round. So that also kind of benefits this pick, I guess, because you can play Zuby in more of like a 4 role off the bench, which I think obviously just a dog of a player, high motor, defensive versatility, can guard 2 through 5, 1 through 5, like on switches, like I've said before, play finishes, really solid passer and ball handler for his like size and his makeup. So yeah, I think it was okay. I'm interested to see how they use him and how he fits, but that's why I gave it a C+. Like it's not great, but it's not bad.
Yep, I'm right there with you on it being fine. I gave it a C, right in the middle.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it's kind of a low ceiling pick. If I were them, I probably would have just taken Cameron Carr with him being with him falling so far. I think he should have, no way in hell should he have made it to 24. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Zuby's, like you said, I do like the Vesar pick to pair with him. Those two next to each other makes a lot of sense. Zuby covering for Vesar defensively and Vesar covering for Zuby offensively, being that stretch 5. So that's pretty cool. But overall, average pick. Don't hate it, don't love it.
Yep. All right, Lakers selected Cam Carr. They traded with the Knicks, got up to 24. I gave this an A. I mean, I think there's really much to talk about. He was 14th on my big board. really talented offensive player, still with room to grow,
Yep.
in his body. Explosive, really good athlete, good range, insane wingspan. Just a good bet for the Lakers, in my opinion. I think they
Yep.
needed a guy like him that could provide some scoring punch outside of like
Yeah.
a Luka and a Reeves.
Yeah, what I'll add to that with the fit, Cam Carr being a guy that isn't necessarily a high IQ, good playmaker, guy that's gonna put the ball on the floor and make plays. He's more of an off-ball threat.
Yeah.
Catch and shoot threes, lobs, backdoor cuts. Him playing next to Luka is almost the most ideal fit you can
Absolutely.
get. Because
Absolutely.
Luka has the ball in his hands every single play.
Yep.
So I think Cam Carr being a movement shooter, backdoor cutter, lob threat, perfect on offense, and hopefully the defense comes around. I know he had some deficiencies there, but the wingspan, the athleticism is all there. So hopefully he can become an elite defender next to Luka and help out on that end.
Yeah.
So yeah, A.
Yeah, I think they had to end the slide and
Had to.
perfect spot.
Yeah.
All right, Dallas, who there was a bunch of trades for this pick too. Ended up with Sergio De La Rey. We don't probably have much to say here.
Yeah.
What did I give this? I think I gave it a B minus. So
Yeah, I gave it a B.
okay.
I mean, neither of us are experts on Sergio De La Rey. We weren't digging deep into this guy's film. But yeah, I mean, jumbo guard that can shoot a little bit, can pass. He's got the size and length to fill out, and maybe has some untapped defensive upside as well. I mean, I like that the Mavericks got a guard, and a guard that has some high upside here.
Yeah.
Definitely sort of a stash and more raw prospect that's going to take some time, but I'm fine with it.
Yeah. I think he's like a project type of guy. I don't hate it.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to San Antonio, who selected Taurus Reed. They traded up with the Nuggets, who had picked 26, I believe. I gave this a B minus as well.
I gave it a B.
Okay. I wasn't in love with him as like a prospect. I think Danny Hurley like really gets the most out of his bigs, and they don't. I mean, obviously Dominic Williams been good.
Great point.
In the league, but like a Sonogo from back then. I think he'll be fine off the bench, but I don't know. I would have liked to see them go more of like a wing type guy here. He'll be fine.
What I will say is, yeah, I like the little insurance policy on Quaintance.
Yes.
That's why I gave it a B ultimately.
Yeah.
And they didn't have this pick; they traded up for it. So I do like that, and I think being an older prospect with the experience, being coached by Hurley, he'll be able to come in, provide some toughness and rebounding and front court depth that the Spurs need. So I mean, I don't see this as any sort of game changer in comparison to Luke Cornett.
No.
But yeah, just some nice added depth.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think he has like a solid floor, and if he hits anything higher than that, then it's like just all gravy. But I think it's like kind of a smaller range of outcomes. So, all right, moving on to Chris Sinak, got drafted by the Boston Celtics at 27. I gave this a B. I think this was a good spot to pick Sinak. I think his value for me was right around like 25, 26, 27. So, yeah, and I think he'll be good in the Boston system. I think he's more of like a developmental guy, and I trust Boston's coaching staff to develop him, so I liked it.
Yeah. I agree with everything there. I landed on C+, because honestly, I'm not going to lie, if he went to almost any other team here at the end of the first round, I probably would have settled on a very low grade. But it being Boston, a team that gets the most out of their bigs, definitely makes me a little bit more optimistic on Sinak. Something that was funny to touch on was Brad Stevens mentioned how every time he watched Chris Sinak, he came away thinking, man, he might not have been good out there, but he tried really hard.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, he's a hard worker. He was a very highly touted high school recruit. There's definitely some untapped potential in there. It's really just going to come down to whether this kid realizes his upside or not, and who really knows whether that's going to happen. So.
Yeah. Yep. All right, moving on to 28. the Brooklyn Nets selected Joshua Jefferson. This was part of the Julius Randle trade.
Yeah.
I gave this a C plus. I think, listen, he's an older prospect, so in the Nets where they're not contending at all, it's a little odd, but I think he's a player that they kind of needed, like a guy that can kind of come in the forward rotation there, has good high feel, can pass, can kind of connect the offense, and I think he's a good fit with like a Michael Brown Jr. I think they would play well, nicely together. So yeah, I think it was okay. I mean, I'm not in love with it. But it's fine.
I gave it a C. I don't have much to say. I think this is just the most average pick of the draft.
Yeah,
just kind of like whatever. Who cares? You know what I mean?
Right.
He'll be able to come in and provide some minutes, and I will say I think Joshua Jefferson would be able to be maximized alongside other players that are good, which the Nets don't have a lot of.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, whatever. Okay pick. Not mad at it. Don't love it.
Yep. All right, moving on to Alex Caravan from UConn. I might have been a little harsh on this, but I gave it a C minus. I just think for the Kings, where they are also so far away from contention, I would have liked if they went for like a higher upside swing here. I think there's something to be said about drafting like a winner and a solid, smart player like Caravan to come in and help kind of like bridge the gaps between the youth and the experience. But I just wasn't in love with it. I liked other players on the board better, so that's why I ended up with a C minus.
Yeah. I ended up with a B, and I do agree that they could have went with some younger guys here that have some higher upside to provide with Darius Acuff long term.
Yeah.
But like you said, that bridging the gap aspect, I think Caravan being able to be a guy that can space the floor for Acuff and give him room to navigate and give him space to get downhill and get in the paint and have a guy to kick out to, I think that's big for Darius Acuff's development. And I think that's probably you never know what the Kings are thinking because of how dysfunctional they've been for so long, but I think that could be some of their thought process here. Grab a guy who's just going to help Acuff get open and have a guy to kick out to and rely on. So
yeah, okay
pick.
Yeah, I agree. All right, last pick, Koa Pete here. I gave it a B plus. I
gave it a B.
Okay, I think
I like it though.
Point in the draft, it was a good spot for him. An Arizona kid, so this is perfect for him because they got the whole trade thing. So he's going to Phoenix.
Yep.
I didn't love him as a prospect, but I think at 30, you're willing to bet on what he does bring, which is the toughness and the rebounding and the motor and the play finishing. So I thought it was good. I think it's a good swing for Phoenix.
Yeah. I don't have much else to say. I kind of feel like the Nets or the Kings should have taken a swing on him.
Yeah.
Or even the Spurs, because Koa Pete playing with Wemby sort of minimizes his lack of shooting and his flaws in general. So I feel like he should have went a little bit higher, which is why I ended up with a B. I almost gave him a B plus too, so pretty much even with you here. But yeah, I think see what happens. Just take the best player available and hope he develops. So yeah, I like the pick for the Suns. Yeah,
they have an interesting young like front court wing now with like Kamen Malawach and Rasheer Fleming played well last year. So Oso Ighodaro is also there. So we'll see. They have a couple of nice pieces. We'll see what happens with them. But all right, that's all.
Did you want to touch on any second round guys at all? Like, do you have anything that jumped off the page to you or no?
Honestly, I
know we already kind of touched on Vassar a little bit with the edge of 4 pick, and that's really all that I see. So
yeah, no, I think they all kind of went where they were supposed to go. I liked Isaiah Evans to Minnesota. That's a good spot for him.
Yeah, I like that.
With the Cavs, they needed some bench shooting and depth there, so I like that. And then outside of that, I mean, I think everyone
the rest
right. The second round's kind of just some dart throws.
Dart throws. Yep.
So I think it was fine. A lot of trades, an insane amount of trades.
Dude, yeah, that was nuts. This has to be a record for how many trades have occurred in an NBA offseason in the first like however many days since it started. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Insane. Yeah. Did you want to touch on the Giannis trade, the LaMelo trade, the Randall trade, anything like that? Or would you rather just end it here?
I don't know. I think we kind of talked about it a little bit throughout
Yeah,
the way, especially
yeah.
the LaMelo. I feel like.
I'll get into it a little for a second, real quick. The Giannis trade, just to give my thoughts, I think the Heat got absolutely fleeced. I think you agree with me here.
Yeah.
The Bucks are set up so well for the long term. We touched on that with the Burries and the Ament pick. But yeah, I think the Heat are going to struggle to find guys to surround Bam and Giannis with. If they can hit on some cheap contracts, then great. Maybe they can be a contender. But I think the Bucks could be just as good as they were last year, if not better, right away. So
Yeah.
I love it for the Bucks, and obviously the long-term upside is huge. Did you want to add anything else, or?
I don't think so. I agree with the Giannis portion. I like the return a lot. I think they got a bunch of valuable assets. I think the young players like Jaquez and Ware that they got are honestly underrated. Like they're really solid role players and they're good like connecting pieces. So
Yeah, yeah.
I'm fine with the return.
And then the Lamelo trade, I love it for the Timberwolves, hate it for the Hornets.
Mhm.
I think Lamelo and Ant next to each other is just absolute dynamite. That's going to be awesome. They're going to need to find someone at power forward now with Naz Reid gone and with Julius Randle gone.
Right.
But the backcourt of Lamelo, Ant, Dosunmu, Isaiah Evans, Terrence Shannon.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then obviously you got Jaden McDaniels still there as that connective piece, and Rudy Gobert and Berenger to own the paint. So yeah, I think you slot in a power forward somehow, and you're looking at a true contender.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. That wraps things up.
That's pretty much all I had to talk about with
Yeah.
the trades. But so yeah, that wraps up our complete breakdown of each team's 2026 NBA draft haul. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. If you're still here, and if you made it this far, please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Helps us grow and improve the channel to keep making content for y'all.
Yeah.
Also, be sure to comment with your thoughts, any picks you were higher or lower on than we were, any fits you agree or disagree with, or just any criticism or insight in general that you have on the episode. We're always looking for feedback and use it to improve as creators and pump out some better content for y'all. So yeah, anything else you got to add before we get out of here, Ryan?
I don't think so. It was an awesome episode. Cool running through each pick. I think we agreed, we disagreed. It was good conversation. Now I'm excited to turn into free agency, and the summer now really starts to heat up in summer league and
Yep.
all that. So it should be a lot of fun.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in again to the Council Podcast. We'll probably be back soon for a Sixers ideal off season.
Yep.
But yeah, until then, we'll see you guys next time. Peace out.
See ya.